We've all seen it, right? That classic image, that blurry, grainy shape, against the sky, the quintessential UFO sighting. And it's an image that's kind of been seared into our minds, I mean, for generations. Really makes you think, what is it about these images that's so captivating? What is it about them that grabs us? Is it the mystery or the fear? Or maybe it's the hope that there's something more out there, something beyond ourselves.
It is truly remarkable how these images, these narratives have become so deeply ingrained in our culture. You hit the nail on the head. They really do tap into a fundamental human desire. It's this desire to explore, the unknown, to seek answers to these questions that have haunted us since we first, looked up at the stars.
So let's get into it. Let's start with the psychology behind, all these UFO conspiracies. Why are we so drawn to them? I think there's something inherently fascinating about the idea of government cover-up, secret knowledge, and the possibility that we're not alone in the universe.
Absolutely. And you combine that with our natural curiosity and maybe a healthy dose of skepticism towards authority, you get a perfect breeding ground for conspiracy theories. I mean, the Roswell incident was a prime example. The military initially said it was a crashed flying disc, but then very quickly they retract that and say, oh, no, it's just a weather balloon, and that created this whirlwind of suspicion that persists to this day.
It's funny how that one little inconsistency, right at the beginning, how it's created this ripple effect that's influencing how people interpret the whole event, even decades later.
Exactly. It plays into this idea that the government's not being completely honest, that there's something they're hiding from us. And the sense of hidden knowledge just fuels even more speculation, more imagination.
And once those seeds of doubt are planted, confirmation bias kicks in, right? We look for information that reinforces our existing beliefs, even if those beliefs are on shaky ground. Yeah. And this is especially true online. I mean, think about online communities, where echo chambers form, and those ideas just get reinforced over and over again without any critical examination.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, the internet has completely changed the game when it comes to UFO conspiracies. It's like this breeding ground for misinformation speculation. And these theories can spread like wildfire without any of those traditional filters like journalistic integrity or academic rigor.
And that brings us to Area 51. Just the name itself. It conjures up all these images of shadowy government facilities, hidden away in the Nevada desert. And the fact that they denied its existence for years just added to the mystery surrounding it.
Area 51, it's the ultimate enigma. It represents government secrecy, the unknown. And it's just the fact that it existed at all just fueled so much speculation. It became a focal point for anyone seeking evidence of, extraterrestrial activity.
Okay, so let's get into the nitty-gritty. Let's dig into the Roswell incident. It all started in 1947. We have this rancher named Mac Brazel, and he finds this weird debris scattered across his property. And the military shows up right away, and they say, oh, it's a flying disc. But then they backtrack and say, oh, no, wait, it's just a weather balloon.
Oh, that initial flip-flop that the military did. Instant red flag right. It just made people think they were trying to hide something, and that just ignited even more public curiosity and fueled those burgeoning UFO conspiracy theories.
And Roswell just took off from there. It became a major focal point for UFO enthusiasts. Key figures like Stanton Friedman, who came on the scene in the 1970s, they started delving into witness testimonies, and they really helped shape the narrative that has persisted for decades.
Friedman's research and the fact that the witness accounts kept changing added so many layers of intrigue to Roswell. And those evolving narratives often involved, stories of alien bodies, recovered secret autopsies, and this vast government cover-up to suppress the truth.
But the Air Force eventually came out with a different explanation. They attributed the debris to Project Mogul, a top-secret Cold War program.
So Project Mogul, it involved these high-altitude balloons. They were designed to detect Soviet nuclear tests. And these balloons were made using materials like, tinfoil rubber and tape, which, I mean, when you think about it, if you don't know what you're looking at, you could easily mistake that for something more exotic, especially if you already believe in alien technology.
So you're saying the alien technology could have just been Cold War tech?
That's the explanation the Air Force gave. And while it does address a lot of the questions surrounding Roswell, it hasn't completely stopped the speculation. There are still unanswered questions, discrepancies, and witness accounts, and that lingering sense of mystery just continues to capture people's imaginations.
So with Roswell, it seems like the more we learn, the more questions we have.
That's the thing about these enduring mysteries. Even with plausible explanations, our minds, they seek patterns, connections, narratives that resonate with our deepest fears and aspirations.
Okay, now what about this Area 52? Is that like Area 51 Part 2?
Not exactly. Area 52 is often used to refer to the Tanoka Test Range. It's another super classified installation in Nevada. So it's not Area 51, but it's like in the same neighborhood.
So what do we actually know about what goes on at Area 52?
Well, we know it's a hub for nuclear weapons testing, and they develop cutting-edge aircraft there. Some activities have been declassified, over the years, like Constant Peg, where U.S. pilots trained against Soviet MiGs. And they tested the stealth F-117 Nighthawk there, too. That iconic black triangle plane.
Yeah.
But the fact that there's so much secrecy surrounding Area 52, it just makes it ripe for speculation.
It's like secrecy just breeds mystery, and then mystery breeds speculation.
Exactly. The lack of transparency just lets our imaginations run wild. It allows these conspiracy theories to flourish.
So we've talked about these locations, these stories, but what about all the UFO sightings? People report. I mean, surely not all of them can be explained away as weather balloons or swamp gas, right?
It's true, not every sighting has a clear-cut explanation. But it's so important to approach these claims with a critical mind. I mean, think about it. Extraordinary claims demand extraordinary evidence.
So how do we sort through all of that? How do we separate fact from fiction when it comes to all these UFO sightings?
It comes down to examining the evidence. You have to scrutinize the source and consider other possible explanations. Many sightings, they end up being misidentified objects, things like weather balloons, satellites, or even drones. And some are just straight up hoaxes fabricated for attention or for profit.
Like that alien autopsy film that was going around in the 90s.
Exactly. It turned out to be a really clever hoax. And you have to remember, during the Cold War, people weren't used to seeing aircraft like the U-2 spy plane, so all these high-altitude flights were causing a ton of UFO reports.
So it sounds like we need to be careful about the information we consume and not jump to conclusions just because we see some grainy images or read some sensationalized story.
Absolutely. Being skeptical is a good thing. But it shouldn't mean being closed-minded. We should investigate claims thoroughly, but we also need to hold those claims to a high standard of proof.
That's a good point. It's about balancing skepticism with curiosity.
Yeah.
So let's play devil's advocate here for a second. What if we actually did find conclusive evidence of alien life? I mean, what would that mean for humanity?
Wow, that's a question that deserves its own deep dive. But if I had to sum it up, it would be a monumental discovery. It would completely reshape our understanding of the universe and ourselves. And it would have huge implications, scientifically, socially, and even politically.
Yeah, I can only imagine. On the one hand, think of the incredible scientific advancements. We could learn about other forms of life, maybe uncover new technologies, and we could finally answer that question. Are we alone?
But there's also the potential for things to go wrong. I mean, think about societal unrest. The fear of the unknown, even global conflict. There's just no way to predict how humanity would react to something so groundbreaking. It makes you question if we're ready for something like that, our ability to handle the unknown. It really highlights the potential fragility of our social structures. Let's dig a little deeper into those potential implications. What would it actually mean if we discovered extraterrestrial life? It's something people have been speculating about forever, and for good reason. The ramifications would be huge. I mean, touching upon every facet of human existence, really.
Yeah, it's almost too much to comprehend, right? The ripple effects would impact science, religion, our culture. I mean, even our own understanding of ourselves and our place in the universe. It's mind-boggling.
Absolutely. Imagine the impact on science. I mean, fields like astrobiology, exobiology, and astrophysics would be completely revolutionized. We could actually study alien life forms, analyze their biology, their evolution, their technology. It would challenge every scientific paradigm we have. And who knows what kind of breakthroughs it could lead to. Things we can't even imagine right now.
It'd be like opening up this whole new chapter in our understanding, a chapter that could rewrite everything we thought we knew about the universe and the laws of nature.
And think about the technology. What if we could decipher alien technology? Reverse engineer their spacecraft, or unlock the secrets of their energy sources? It could revolutionize everything. Space travel, medicine, energy production. I mean, countless aspects of our lives could be transformed.
It's exciting and terrifying all at the same time,
It really is. The potential benefits are huge, but so are the risks. We can't ignore the possibility of societal upheaval, panic mass hysteria. Even religions could be thrown into turmoil. I mean, their doctrines would be directly challenged by the existence of extraterrestrial beings.
That's a really good point. How would different cultures, different belief systems around the world react to a discovery like that? Would it bring us together, or would it just create even more division?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, on the one hand, a shared extraterrestrial other, it could potentially unite humanity in a way we've never seen before. It could foster global cooperation and understanding, but it could also just as easily exacerbate existing tensions and inequalities. We could see conflict erupt over resources, technology, or even control of the information about these alien civilizations.
And the political landscape would be completely upended. I mean, would nations cooperate or would they compete? Would it trigger a new space race or even an arms race as countries try to, assert dominance or get their hands on alien technology?
There's no doubt about it. Both cooperation and conflict would be on the table. Discovering alien life would present us with a unique challenge and opportunity. It would force us to reevaluate everything: our priorities, our values, our place on the galactic stage.
It's almost too much to wrap your head around. We're just so used to thinking of ourselves as the only intelligent life in the universe.
And that anthropocentric view, it's shaped our history, our culture, our very sense of self. Discovering extraterrestrial life would challenge that view to its core. It would force us to confront our own limitations and our place in a much vaster and more complex cosmos.
Okay, so let's bring it back down to Earth for a minute. We've talked about Roswell Area 51, the possibility of government cover-ups. But what about all those everyday UFO sightings that people report? What's the best way to approach those?
The key is to find that balance between skepticism and open-mindedness. Critical thinking is absolutely crucial. We need to evaluate these claims based on evidence, not on gut feelings or what we want to believe.
So how do we actually do that? What kind of questions should we be asking ourselves when we hear about a UFO sighting?
First, think about the source. Is it reliable? Does it tend to sensationalize things or exaggerate? Then look at the evidence. Are there multiple witnesses? Is there any physical evidence? Photos and videos can be compelling, but they can also be faked or misconstrued pretty easily.
Yeah, right. I mean, all those blurry photos of UFOs, a lot of times they turn out to be something totally normal, like a bird or a plane or even a drone these days.
Exactly. And don't rule out hoaxes. Some people just want attention, or they're trying to make money. Others might genuinely believe they've seen something extraordinary, but they're misinterpreting a more commonplace phenomenon.
So we need to be savvy consumers of information, you know.
Yeah.
Understand the different factors that can influence what we see and what we believe, and just be careful about jumping to conclusions.
Couldn't have said it better myself. We need to approach these claims with a healthy dose of skepticism, but also with curiosity and a willingness to consider other explanations.
So it's not about just dismissing everything outright, but rather looking at the evidence with a critical but open mind.
That's exactly it. And that goes for any extraordinary claim, not just UFO sightings. We're bombarded with information these days, and misinformation can spread so quickly. We really need to develop strong media literacy skills. We have to be able to tell the difference between credible sources and those that are just trying to get clicks with sensationalized stories.
So look for sources that actually fact-check their information, ones that present different perspectives, and avoid those clickbait headlines and overly dramatic reenactments.
You got it. Responsible reporting doesn't shy away from exploring the unknown. It just does it with rigor and integrity.
That's what we try to do here on 15-Minute Discourse. Present the information thoughtfully and encourage open dialogue and respectful debate.
It's so important to have those conversations, even with people who have totally different viewpoints. We can learn from each other, challenge our own assumptions, and maybe even find common ground despite those differences.
Because at the end of the day, we're all looking for the same things, right?
Mhm.
Truth meaning, a deeper understanding of the universe and our place in it.
It's that shared quest for knowledge, that sense of wonder and exploration that unites us all.
It's really interesting to think about how discovering extraterrestrial life might impact our culture, our values, our institutions. I mean, it would be a paradigm shift unlike anything we've ever experienced.
Yeah, it would totally change everything. It would challenge our artistic expressions, the way we tell stories, even our sense of history. Our values would probably evolve as we grappled with the implications of not being alone. And our institutions, everything from governments to religious organizations, would have to adapt to this new reality.
It's like hitting the reset button on how we understand existence.
In a lot of ways, yeah. We'd be constantly adapting and evolving as we figured out how to interact with another intelligent species.
So discovering alien life wouldn't be like a one-time event. It would be the beginning of a whole new chapter in human history.
Exactly. And how that chapter unfolds depends on the choices we make, the actions we take, our ability to navigate the unknown with wisdom and courage.
That's a powerful thought. It reminds us that this isn't just about science. It's about our deepest fears and aspirations, our sense of self and our relationship to the universe.
The search for extraterrestrial life, it's not just about finding little green men. It's about understanding our place in the cosmos and grappling with the big questions that have been with us since the beginning.
And those questions, those mysteries are what make this topic so fascinating, don't they?
Absolutely. They challenge us to think beyond what we know, to embrace the unknown, to look at the universe with a sense of awe and wonder.
You know, we've talked a lot about the potential for social unrest, for fear and distrust. But what about the potential for positive change? Could finding alien life actually bring us together?
That's an interesting perspective,
Mhm.
and a hopeful one. The realization that we're not alone could definitely have a unifying effect. It might inspire global cooperation like we've never seen before as we face this shared challenge and opportunity.
Can you imagine? Scientists from around the world working together to decipher alien languages, to study their technology, to unlock the secrets of the universe.
And it's a pretty amazing thought, isn't it? And it's not just about scientific progress. It's about cultural exchange, expanding our understanding of consciousness, redefining what it means to be human.
We could learn so much from another intelligent species, gain new perspectives on our own history and the challenges we face, maybe even find solutions to problems that have been plaguing us for centuries.
What if these alien civilizations have already solved climate change, achieved world peace, developed sustainable energy sources? Think about what we could learn from their experiences.
It makes the search for extraterrestrial life feel even more urgent and meaningful. The potential benefits are just as huge as the potential risks.
It reminds us to approach this topic with a sense of wonder and possibility, not just fear and trepidation.
It's about embracing the unknown, not shying away from it.
I like that. Because even if we never find definitive proof of alien life, the search itself, the questioning, the pushing the boundaries of knowledge, that's what makes us human.
It reminds me of that Carl Sagan quote, "Somewhere, something incredible is waiting to be known."
And that something incredible just might be out there waiting for us to find it.
That's a good thought to hold on to.
Yeah.
It makes me want to keep learning, keep exploring, keep looking up at the sky.
And that's the spirit we want to encourage here on 15-Minute Discourse.
So before we move on, I want to go back to something we touched on earlier, the psychology behind all those UFO conspiracies. How they often tap into our anxieties, our distrust of authority, our desire for meaning in a world that can feel pretty chaotic.
Oh, definitely. When people feel like they've lost control, when the world seems like it's full of hidden forces and agendas, it's easy to get drawn into narratives that try to explain it all, even if those narratives are based on shaky evidence or just made up.
So how do we separate genuine curiosity from harmful obsession? How do we have these conversations without falling into misinformation or paranoia?
It's tricky. We want to encourage people to think critically, to challenge unsubstantiated claims, to be smart about the information they consume. But we don't want to squash genuine curiosity or that human need for wonder and exploration. It's a balancing act.
How do we find that balance then?
It starts with respect and open-mindedness. We need to be able to disagree without being disrespectful, to challenge ideas without attacking people personally.
So basically create spaces where people can share their perspectives, ask questions, explore different viewpoints without feeling judged or ridiculed.
Exactly. And in those spaces, we can encourage critical thinking. Ask probing questions, look at the evidence, consider different explanations.
So instead of shutting someone down saying, "That's crazy, you're a conspiracy theorist," we can say, "That's interesting. What makes you think that? What evidence do you have?"
Right. By engaging with curiosity and respect, we can help people develop those critical thinking skills and become more discerning about the information they encounter.
It's about empowering people to think for themselves, to evaluate claims based on evidence, and reach their own conclusions.
It's a much more effective approach than just trying to debunk every conspiracy theory or dismissing anyone who has unconventional beliefs.
Because in the end, we're all searching for the same things. Truth, meaning.
Yeah.
Trying to understand ourselves and the universe.
And that journey, that's what makes life so fascinating.
I love that. Okay, so on that note, I think it's time to move on to our final segment. We've talked about the psychology, the evidence or lack thereof, and the potential implications of finding alien life. But there's one more piece of the puzzle we need to discuss. Government secrecy.
Yeah, government secrecy, it really does play a huge role in shaping how the public perceives all this UFO stuff. And it definitely fuels a lot of speculation. It's complicated, though. I mean, there are valid reasons why some information needs to be classified, but it also creates this environment of mistrust. And it's like a breeding ground for all those conspiracy theories.
It seems like whenever the government clams up about anything even remotely related to UFOs, it just makes the mystery even bigger.
Hmm.
And it fuels the imagination of people who already believe they're hiding something from us.
There's that famous quote, When you tear out a man a tongue, you are not proving him a liar. You're only telling the world that you fear what he might say. I think that really applies here. When the government won't tell us anything, especially about something as intriguing as aliens, it creates this void. And that void gets filled with speculation, conjecture, and often just plain misinformation.
And that void, it can really damage the trust between the public and the government. It feeds into this narrative that they're not being transparent, that they're doing things in the shadows, maybe even manipulating the truth to serve their own agendas.
It's important to remember that government secrecy isn't always about some nefarious plot. There are legitimate reasons to classify information. Things like protecting national security, safeguarding intelligence sources, making sure dangerous technologies don't fall into the wrong hands. But when secrecy goes too far, when it's used to shield the government from being held accountable or to manipulate how the public sees things, it can really erode trust. And it can be really damaging to democracy.
It's like this constant push and pull, right? The debate about UFOs and government secrecy. It forces us to think about the need for transparency versus the need to protect sensitive information. It makes you wonder who gets to decide what information should be classified and how they make those decisions.
It's a delicate balance for sure. On one hand, we want our government to be open and honest, to share information with the public and be held accountable for their actions. But on the other hand, we get it. Some level of secrecy is necessary to keep the country safe and protect those sensitive operations. The hard part is finding that sweet spot, the right balance between those two competing interests.
And when we're talking about UFOs, that line between necessary secrecy and just being evasive, it can get really blurry. Incidents like Roswell, where it turns out the government lied about what happened, it just makes people even more distrustful. And those conspiracy theories keep going for generations.
Even if the cover-up was meant to protect something legitimate, like Project Mogul, the fact that they lied at all, it hurts their credibility. And it creates this impression that they can't be trusted to tell the truth about UFOs, even when they are being truthful.
It's like that saying, you break a mirror, you can try to put the pieces back together, but the cracks are always there. Once that trust is gone, it's so hard to get it back.
So how do we fix this? How do we make things more transparent, more accountable, while still protecting legitimate national security interests? It's a tough question. There's no easy answer. But I think the first step is just acknowledging the problem and then starting to take steps to be more open.
So what could the government actually do? What specific steps could they take to be more transparent about what they're doing? Especially when it comes to things like UFOs that so many people are interested in and have all these theories about.
Well, one thing they could do is declassify more information about old UFO investigations. Even if they have to redact some details to protect sensitive information, it would at least show that they're willing to be more open about what they know, even if they can't reveal everything.
So be more open about the process, even if they can't share all the results.
Yeah, exactly. And for investigations that are still going on, they could be more upfront about what they're looking into, the methods they're using, the general areas they're focusing on. That would help people feel like their concerns are being taken seriously and that the investigations are being done thoroughly and responsibly.
It's about acknowledging that the public has a right to be interested in these things and giving them some reassurance that the government is actually trying to find answers.
For sure. And another important thing would be for the government to be more proactive about debunking all the misinformation out there and addressing people's concerns instead of just ignoring those conspiracy theories or dismissing them as crazy talk. They could engage with them directly, provide evidence-based explanations, address the anxieties and uncertainties that fuel those narratives.
So it's about remembering that there's a human element to all this. People are drawn to these stories for a reason, and we need to address those underlying concerns with empathy and understanding.
Exactly. When the government stays silent, it just makes people think they're hiding something, and that just makes those conspiracy theories even stronger.
So it sounds like transparency, accountability, and open dialogue. Those are the keys to building trust between the public and the government.
100%. The search for truth, whether it's about UFOs or anything else, it requires a commitment to transparency and accountability. And it requires a willingness to have those open and honest conversations, even when the topic is complicated or controversial.
Wow. I think that's a great way to wrap up this deep dive. We've explored the psychology behind all this, we've talked about the evidence or the lack of evidence, and we've considered what it would mean to actually find alien life. But I think the biggest takeaway is this. The pursuit of knowledge requires curiosity. It requires us to think critically and be skeptical. But it also requires transparency, open dialogue, and a willingness to question everything we think we know. The universe is a mysterious place, and we might never have all the answers. But the journey of exploration itself, that's what makes life so fascinating.
I couldn't agree more. And never forget, even if we never get those definitive answers about UFOs or aliens, the very act of searching and questioning and pushing the limits of what we know, that's what makes us human.
That's a great note to end on. Thank you so much for joining us on this incredible journey. If you enjoyed this deep dive, be sure to hit that like button and subscribe to our channel for more explorations to the fascinating and thought-provoking. And please keep the conversation going in the comments. Share your thoughts, your theories, your questions. We want to hear it all. Until next time, keep your minds open and your eyes on the skies.